Zohran Mamdani, the racist, anti-American socialist revolutionary from Uganda, who's likely going to be the next mayor of New York City, now has a copycat. And of course, this copycat emerges in none other than the state that boasts both Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, good old Minnesota. So Omar Fateh is a 35-year-old Somalian socialist who is running to become mayor of Minneapolis, the city with the largest population of Somalis in the United States. He is proudly running on making life better for only Somalis and continuing to push Minneapolis down the path of becoming little more than just a territory of Somalia. This is indicating a disturbing trend of people from third world countries fleeing to America, infiltrating our politics, and then advocating for the exact same policies that destroyed their home country. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's hear what Zohran 2.0 is all about.
Everyone keeps asking me, Omar, why aren't you doing more videos? As a state senator with a second full-time job and a kid on the way, I just haven't been able to find the time. I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard to 1. Build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2. Protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3. Diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE, whether it's for an immigration raid or not. Our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers.
I mean, he's copying everything about Zohran Mamdani to the T. The same old, look at me, I'm just a regular guy walking down the street. I'm not one of these elite politicians who you can't trust. I'm one of you. You can trust me to stand up for the working man. I'm convinced these kind of candidates are nothing more than agents of chaos. They're not trying to benefit their communities through a new direction of governance. They're trying to destroy America from within, city by city, because they fundamentally believe Western civilization should not exist. Now, before you say there's no possible way a radical like this could get elected as mayor of Minneapolis, let me show you why they call Minneapolis Little Somalia.
Please, Marka, once we bury them, inshallah, then we'll go ahead and open for the sisters. Please go back, sisters. Please, we're delaying the process. Sisters, please go back. Sisters, please go back, inshallah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it safe to assume the reason Somalians fled from Somalia and came to America is so that they could live in a country not surrounded by other Somalians? Wasn't the point to leave the place where Somalians have control over the government, where their culture is the dominant culture of the area? Isn't it safe to reason that if you bring one person over from a dysfunctional, corrupt, war-torn country, they'll be able to have a better life in civilized, polite society? But if you bring 50,000 of those people over and drop them in one American city, discourage them from assimilating into American society, encourage them to retain everything about their culture, don't you think you're going to start getting the same problems as when these people were allowed to run an entire country? They don't want to adopt American culture. They want to keep their Somalian culture. They just want to be Somalian in America where it's safe. Somalia is one of the most violent, war-torn countries in the world. And you can't just import tens of thousands of people who are perpetually stuck in survival mode into polite, civilized society and think that there's going to be any kind of cultural cohesion. When people from other first world countries immigrate to America, it's an easy adjustment. They're used to politeness and rules and laws and standards. Their morals and values and customs largely overlap with ours. But when you import people from Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, Venezuela, you start seeing real cultural incompatibility. But this Omar guy isn't just stupid, he's also dangerous. Here he is explaining one of the policies he's most passionate about, defunding the police and converting them all to therapists.
Minneapolis has produced story after story of police brutality and overreach. And this charter amendment will give us a chance to take a new approach to public safety, mainly a comprehensive public health approach that we haven't before. By building a public safety department that has both police as well as professionals that are qualified to deal with complex issues, we can intervene before issues escalate and get out of hand. So public safety, if you speak to everybody, will say that, yes, we believe it should be for all of our neighbors. It should not exclude people because they are poor or unhoused, or if they're black or brown or Latino or in a medical crisis.
Like, I have to imagine he wants to defund the police and he wants crime to skyrocket, because then it will create an environment in which the Somalis will be able to thrive. They'll feel more at home if there's crime and violence occurring all over the place. It allows the local Somalis in Minneapolis to feel at home and engage in their cultural behaviors of robbery and murder. And just like at home, they'll face no consequences because there's no police anymore. It's just par for the course with these kind of socialist radical revolutionaries who either, one, ignore history and the numerous times socialism's been implemented and the disaster that follows every time, or they acknowledge history and simply want the disaster that follows every time. But this Omar guy is also corrupt, which is part of the usual suspects of Somali culture. This was him getting caught for faking ballots when he was running for state senator of Minnesota.
The second complaint was that Fateh didn't respond when his brother-in-law, Musa Muhammad, was convicted of lying to a federal grand jury about ballots he turned in on behalf of other voters in 2020 without their permission.
So based on the advice of my lawyer, I'm again going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right and decline to answer.
Dawson Kimian was Fateh's campaign manager, but took the Fifth Amendment repeatedly when asked about the campaign. Eventually, the panel dropped the second complaint, finding no evidence that Fateh knew about the ballot situation.
So this guy is just crooked, but it won't matter because he'll still have the overwhelming support of the Somali community. And Minneapolis is a deep blue city, so he'll have the support of all the virtue-signaling, self-hating white liberals who live there, who will be compelled to vote for him in the fear of being called a racist. If the West eventually falls, it will be because we allowed it to happen, because we were so afraid of being called a racist. But just like Ilhan Omar, another radical Somali from Minnesota, he is also unapologetic about his commitment towards specifically helping the Somali people, both in Minneapolis and back home in Somalia.
So right now we're blessed to have 3 Somali elected officials at the Capitol. Me, Sister Hodan Hassan, who's in the State House, and Brother Mahmoud Noor. And we work very closely together, and we carry each other's bills. So the way it works is, if there's a bill in the House, it needs an identical bill to be carried in the Senate for it to be negotiated and to pass in the committees, and then go on for the floor session, and then go on to the governor's signature. So we're able to pass our bills back and forth that'll help benefit our communities. I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap and unite all of us and represent all of us, because when we succeed here, we succeed everywhere.
This is the problem with so many Americans who lack true perspective of the world. They reject the premise that any of these people from the third world can truly just have bad intentions. When you're dealing with people from cultures that are in perpetual survival mode, they are perfectly willing to lie, cheat, beg, borrow, and steal in order to get what they want. And they see the United States as ripe for taking advantage of. They build up these large communities which become important voting blocks, infiltrate the government, and then use the resources of the United States to solely benefit themselves. They don't see themselves as part of the American fabric. They're not interested in benefits to the rest of the people who live in their city. They are marauders. They want the city of Minneapolis to give as much as possible to them so they can turn around and give as much as possible back to Somalia. That is their end game. They have no loyalty to the United States. This radical argument from the left that somehow diversity is our strength is completely ludicrous. We should be able to point out there are good cultures and there are bad cultures. And if you import tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people from places with bad culture and then discourage them from assimilating into our way of life, how does that benefit America at all? But the Democrat racial politics philosophy is if you have the nerve to criticize the cultural practices of any black or brown country, it's because you're looking at it through a lens of white supremacy. So the last thing I'm going to show you really just hammers in the point of the problem of mass migration from cultures that are antithetical to the way of life here in America, and the absolute dangers of letting these cultural beliefs dominate our politics. Someone quote tweeted Omar Fateh's Zohran Mamdani wannabe video and said, "The reason why so many Somalis look like this is because nearly half of all Somalis are product of first or second cousin marriages." Now, I for sure thought that this had to just be a factless, baseless, racist comment, but it's actually factually correct. Here's Grok's response to that question. Precise data on inbreeding rates in Somalia is limited and varies by source, but studies suggest consanguineous marriages, particularly first and second cousin marriages, are common due to cultural practices. A 2020 study indicated that 48.7% of Somalis are products of first or second cousin marriages. And I promise I'm not just showing you guys this stat to like rudely bash Somalians here. I'm just trying to highlight the point that some cultures are completely incompatible with Western civilized society. If we're going to allow people from places like this into our country, the very least we can do is tell them that having babies with your cousin is not acceptable here. Not encourage them to keep all of their cultural practices because it would be racist to tell them to do otherwise. I've been seeing stories on Twitter of soldiers who served in Afghanistan talking about the violent sexual crimes that are committed against women and children. And US soldiers were banned from intervening because their commanding officers told them it was just cultural commonplace there. No one batted an eye at all. And liberals think that by just suddenly moving those kind of people from Afghanistan to America, they're going to fundamentally change all these beliefs that have been ingrained in them from the beginning. It isn't just naive, it's actually dangerous. In a video I did a couple days ago, a guy recording a documentary down in Colombia was baffled to find out that all the men in this village all took turns having sex with the same donkey. They all referred to the donkey as their first love. And yet liberals have the audacity to blame America for the reason that all these poor third world countries aren't thriving. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you can't thrive as a society until you at minimum stop accepting having sex with the donkeys. It's no surprise you don't have a thriving economy or any thriving industry when 50% of all people are having babies with their cousins. And the solution can't be some weird social experiment where you just change the geographic location of these people and hope that these people somehow change, especially when you tell them that they don't have to, that their rich heritage ought to be preserved. Well, if you tell people to preserve having sex with donkeys, having babies with your cousin, abusing children and women, it's only going to have one effect, and that is making the United States much, much worse. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.